Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is lie. And this is actually the second video I've made on on this particular verb. You'll find links to part 1 in the description box and in the comment section below. But yesterday's video focused on the verb lie, meaning to say something that is not true or to say something that is false. Today, we are going to talk about a second set of definitions with this verb lie. And this is what makes the verb kind of tricky. So, when we're talking about lie, meaning saying something that is not true, that is a regular verb. But the set of definitions we're going to look at today are going to be irregular usages of the verb lie. And so we'll discuss that in more detail. But now let's take a look at some of our definitions for this particular set of meanings. And the first way you might hear lie used is to be in or to assume a horizontal resting place. So someone might say, I'm going to lie in bed, right? I'm going to be horizontal, not vertical. This is vertical, this is horizontal. I'm going to be in a horizontal resting place in bed or maybe on a couch. A second way you might hear lie used is to mean to rest flat on a surface. So here we could be talking about an object being flat on a surface. A third way you might hear lie used is to, unfortunately, refer to someone who has passed away or someone who is deceased. And so we might be referring to where that person's body has been buried, which particular place, which cemetery. A fourth way to use the verb lie is to be situated in a specific position or a direction. As an example of this fourth definition, um, I sometimes think of describing where other things are in my city to someone who is new, right? So if someone was asking, "Where's the library?" Might say it lies across the street from the grocery store or supermarket, right? So you're saying where it is situated. Someone else might say, oh, it lies to the east of the hospital, right? So that's using a direction to describe where the library is situated. Remember, for all of these definitions, lie is going to be an irregular verb. To make the progressive tense, we're going to take out the I and the E, put a Y in place, and then add ing to form lying. So the progressive form for both definitions is the same. But the past tense form for these particular definitions is irregular. It is lay. Now, if you've been watching all of the videos this week, you might be thinking, wait a second, lay was a verb of the day. So this is another reason this verb gets to be kind of confusing and challenging to use. So I hope you'll watch tomorrow's video where I'm going to talk a little more about when to use lay versus lie and how to tell which one is being used if you're reading or listening to someone else. Lastly, you should know the participle form here for these definitions is lain, L-A-I-N. Okay. Let's take a look now at some phrasal verbs with lie. One that you might hear is to lie about or lie around. Both of these phrasal verbs are used in similar ways, and they both have two different meanings. One meaning might be to act in a lazy or unproductive way. Let's take a look at an example of this. It's been such a long and busy week. I'm going to lie around this weekend. Okay, so someone here is expressing their plans to be rather lazy, to be unproductive because they have been so busy and productive the previous few days. A second way you might hear lie about or lie around used is to mean to leave something in a place that is not its correct place. That definition might be a little confusing, so let's look at an example. The children's toys are lying around the house, even though I told them to pick them up. So maybe this particular parent has a shelf or a toy box or some other container. So, and that is the correct place for the toys when they aren't being played with. But here, the toys are not in their correct place. Maybe they're on the floor, on tables, just scattered around the house. A third phrasal verb you might hear is to lie back. This means to move from a sitting position into a horizontal position, or one where you're lying flat. An example of this could be, "Lie back," said the dentist, "and we'll take a look at your teeth." So here, the dentist wants the patient to go from a sitting position to one where they are flat. So that will make it easier for the dentist to look into the patient's mouth. The last phrasal verb we're going to look at today is to lie down. This can mean to rest. Sometimes people use it to suggest they'll be sleeping as well. An example of this could be, "The kindergartners lie down for 30 minutes each day," right? So they have this 30 minutes to rest. Let's continue using our verb of the day, lie, in a couple different verb tenses. Today we're going to practice the simple past tense and the simple future with be going to. Let's start with the simple past tense. We use this verb tense to note that an action was completed at some known time in the past. Sometimes you might see time signals in a sentence, words like yesterday, last week, last year, or maybe even specific dates and times. But simple past tense sentences do not always have time signals. It might be implied as part of a conversation or part of a longer passage or paragraph that you're reading. Let's take a look at an affirmative example in the simple past tense. The dog lay down in the shade during yesterday's heat. So hopefully you can see here that we have the irregular form of our verb, because this is past tense. And this form is going to be used no matter what our subject is. So if there had been two dogs, right, I might say the dogs lay down in the shade, right? The verb doesn't change based on the subject. If you want to make a negative simple past tense sentence, you should use did not and then the base verb lie. You might hear some people use the contraction form didn't and then the base verb, and you can see that in the example. I didn't lie down until 2 a.m. So someone was very busy, they didn't begin to rest until that period. If you want to make a yes or no question in the simple past tense, you should start with did, then place your subject, and then the base verb. An example of that would be, did the dirty dishes lie around all weekend? Right? So these dishes were not in their correct spot. That correct spot might be the dishwasher. So I want everyone to see that in the negative and my yes or no question, I'm not using the irregular form. I didn't use lay. I used lie in both the negative and the yes or no question. I'm only using that irregular form in affirmative or positive sentences. Now let's take a look at simple future using be going to. The thing to remember about making these sentences about things that are going to happen at some point in time in the future is that we need to have the correct form of be that matches our subject. So if our subject is I'm going to use am. If my subject is he, she, or it, I'll use is. And if my subject is you, we, or they, I will use are. After that, it's going to be the same structure. So we have our present form of be, then going to, and the base verb. An example of this might be, I'm going to lie down for an hour. Now, if you want to make a negative simple future sentence, just insert not after your be verb. You can take is not and make that the contraction isn't. You could also take are not and change that into a contraction aren't, but you cannot make a contraction with am not. Let's take a look at an example here. These children aren't going to lie down for nap time. Right? So here someone is looking and maybe seeing a lot of energy. Maybe the kids are kind of wild and like they're just thinking, man, these kids are not going to nap. Now, if you want to make a yes or no question, you should start with a form of be, and that form should match your subject. The subject comes next, and then we follow that same structure, going to and our base verb. An example, is she going to lie there for a while before getting up? Okay. If my subject had been you, I would have used are. Are you going to lie there? Okay. Now let's take a look at two phrases that are related to this particular form of lie. And the first phrase we'll look at is to let something lie. This really means that someone or a group of people are not taking action in response to some sort of issue or problem. Maybe they just think it's not worth it, or I'm not interested in trying to fix this. Okay, so you might think of like the issue or problem just resting in that sort of horizontal place, right? It's not moving around or changing. An example of how you might hear this used, the Attorney General decided to let the matter lie. So here, Attorney General is generally a appointed or elected official. It's an attorney or lawyer with great responsibility, and they've decided, you know what, I'm not going to look at this particular issue. I'm not going to file a lawsuit or pursue this in some way. I'm taking no action. A second phrase you might hear is to lie in state. This goes back to the third definition of lie that we looked at a little bit earlier. This is where a deceased individual's body is going to be set in some public place of honor so that others can view it, pay their respects. This idea is very much to honor and celebrate the particular person who has passed away. An example of this could be both Representative John Lewis and Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg lay in state at the U.S. Capitol in 2020. This is a true statement. There's two individuals who were highly respected, and so they received this honor of having their bodies rest at the U.S. Capitol and have many government officials and the public, in some case, come and view and pay their respects. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I really hope you'll tune in tomorrow where we will do a little review and hopefully make using lay and lie a little bit easier. Have a great day.